Hey, what's up? It's Joel G here, welcoming you to another episode of Maneuver, where we facilitate meaningful conversations and spread useful information to help our dancers maneuver through life and their career. Before I start, I'd like to point out that you can go down on the video description below to make use of the timestamps if you want to go straight to a specific part of this video. We would like to thank the City of Melbourne Council for bringing to life these first few episodes, a 5-part series with topics in mindset, health, business, and creativity. So if you think these will benefit you, consider subscribing. Also thanking Pride Productions and Flexersize for being a big help in this episode. Today, we have a special demonstration on how to build your core in the luxury of your own homes. Our guest today is a Melbourne-based dancer and personal trainer who started in rhythmic gymnastics at a young age before transitioning into the dance world. Fresh from high school, she went straight to do her professional training with a scholarship at Dance World Studios. Shortly after, we've witnessed her impeccable performance on primetime TV shows So You Think You Can Dance and Australia's Got Talent. This girl's energy cannot be contained as she evolves quickly through various things. She started weight training in 2011 and in only 2 years made her debut on the bodybuilding stage in the figure class, which turned out much more than a debut, as on the same year she got selected to travel with a team to represent Australia as a fully sponsored athlete to compete at the Musclemania World Championships in Las Vegas, where she finished top 3. After quite a traumatic neck injury in late 2013, she realized the true importance of keeping the body strong, not just physically, but to a very deep core level. This is when she developed Flexersize, where she trains people to gain strength and flexibility in a safe and effective way to ensure longevity. With this platform, she works with athletes, dancers, powerlifters, and many others in all levels of abilities. It is no secret that she shines in every stage, as we've also seen her perform at Grounded's first year with choreographer Jaden Hicks. Today, she is demonstrating for us 5 exercises we can do to build our core at home. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome someone who believes that looking great on stage comes from feeling great on the inside. Here is our coach for today, the fabulous Miss Eley May.
Hi, Joel.
Hi, Eley. Welcome to the show and thank you for spending time with us here at Maneuver.
Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited with everything that you will share with us today. I have a couple questions before we go on to the exercises. I just want to ask some fundamental questions so we can understand the mind behind the movement. So first is knowing your story. I know you had experienced a neck injury. So how did that play out and you realizing the importance of what you now teach at Flexersize?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think with injury comes a lot of, as you mentioned, it was quite traumatic, so a lot of trauma, but then also if you're ready to take ownership of what you could have done maybe a little bit better or what you can do a little bit better in the future, it can actually foster a lot of learning and growth. So what happened for me in 2013, after doing all those bodybuilding shows, I was looking really, really strong and feeling really, really strong on a certain level. But given all the work that I was doing was around building a physical appearance of looking strong, I wasn't really focusing as much as I had been previously on building true core strength in the way of how I was doing it when I was dancing. So then I ended up with quite a bad neck injury that threw me out of all dancing, and my job at the time was teaching, performing. So it meant that I wasn't able to work, and it meant that I wasn't able to do the things that I loved. So I decided to take some ownership, build the strength, and start really building up more knowledge on the anatomy side of things that I could then pair with the intuitive movement that I had already built over my years of movement since I was young. So, and that's kind of where Flexersize started, and I moved into personal training, which then kind of narrowed down to working with more dancers and athletes on their strength, flexibility, mobility, and stability.
That is awesome. So what are the common misconceptions about understanding core strength and core exercises?
Yeah, I guess there's two that I really wanted to share today. The first one I kind of touched on in the answer previously is around if you can see someone's abs, if they're physically ripped and you can visually see those abs popping out, that equals core strength. And while yes, sometimes someone who's very strong in their core will be showing very clear definition, very clear definition through their abs, sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it can be physical. And so when we're thinking about core strength, we're thinking about deep core strength. That's number one. Number two is that the core is believed to be this kind of center area that separates the lower body from the upper body. So if you think of bringing up a picture of like an Oreo biscuit, and you think the top biscuit is your upper body, the lower biscuit is your lower body, and then the middle is that filling in the center. That's the concept that a lot of people have of being the core. What I want to challenge you guys today to think about is actually thinking of the core more like the core of an apple that runs vertically through your body, right from your instep all the way up through the inner thighs, through your pelvic floor, through all those areas we just talked about in that center core, up for even actually I would challenge you guys to think about the glutes being very involved in your core, and then all the way up the back chain of the body around the muscles that control the scapula, all the way up through your neck and your head. So that's what I really wanted to work with you guys on today, given that dancers need a lot of core strength to go from fluid movement to dynamic movement. They need to be able to transition very smoothly and rise and fall and catch their bodies from jumps and things like that. So yeah, the common misconception around that, I've just said so many words, is that core strength actually is demonstrated when you can move fluidly, as a dancer does, through different dynamics.
Okay, before we go ahead with the demonstration, is there anything we need to prepare when doing these exercises?
So you can just do a few little wrist warm-ups just to get a little bit of movement in the wrist, because we will be doing some movements where we're loading on the hands. You can move your neck a little bit and just do a few deep neck flexor stretches. So stretches for the front of the neck, lifting the chin and just pulling the head back gently. That's all you need in terms of movement. What you are going to need is a nice soft surface like a yoga mat or carpet if you've got that at home. And you're going to need access to a couch, something that you can hook your toes underneath, and something that you can push against, so whether that be a couch or a wall. Anything else that I use in the video is going to be completely optional. They'll just be ways to regress movement for people who might have different things going on in their body.
I also know that you are giving away some prizes today, so stay tuned everyone, and she will tell you all about it later in the show. Okay everybody, I'm gonna leave you with Eley. So Eley, take it away.
All right, guys, we are going to be doing 5 essential core exercises that I believe are going to really help you to start gaining really deep core control and a bit more of an understanding over all those areas I just talked about with Joel that are also relevant to core training. So we're going to start with some scapular shrugs. Now your scapula, another word for your shoulder blades, and there's lots of muscles that control the movement of the scapula. One in particular is your serratus anterior, and it sits underneath the shoulder blades, and it allows the scapula, or the shoulder blades, to come around the rib cage, so in something like a contraction, and to squeeze in towards the spine in something where you're more extended. Now the scapula is really important for ballet dancers, contemporary dancers, jazz dancers, where we need to hold a really nice carriage of the arms. So when your teacher is telling you, you know, lift your elbows or pull your shoulders down or anything like that, they're actually also trying to really allow your body to functionally work better. So we're going to start with scapular shrugs. There's 2 things I need to tell you first. When I say the word retract, I want you to do the action of, I'll just turn around, pulling the shoulder blades in towards the spine. So I always like to think of retract with the word rewind, so take it back. Yeah, and then protract is the opposite word I'll use, which is where you're going to push into the floor and you're going to allow those shoulder blades to slide from in close to the spine to around your rib cage. And a word I like to think of there is push. So retract, rewind, take it back, protract, push. Yeah, so let's start. I'm going to give you 3 variations, one more beginner, one more intermediate, and one that's more advanced to help you progress over time and to suit the level you're currently at. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a 4-point kneel. This is our more beginner version. We're going to tuck our toes under. We're going to make sure that the weight of the shoulders is directly over the wrists and the weight of the hips is directly over the knees. Now we're going to start with our retract, that rewind motion, squeezing the shoulder blades in towards the spine. And then you're going to push the floor so much that your shoulder blades protract and you float your knees 2 centimeters off the floor. We're going to hold for 3, 2, and 1. We'll drop down. We're going to do 8 of these together. Push apart. Now notice as I'm doing this movement that there's really not much going on other than that shoulder blade movement where I'm retracting and I'm protracting. I think that's 3. I'm terrible at counting. 4. What I don't want to see is that you're losing control of the pelvis and you're lifting your hips up very high. We want to make sure that we're really using that control through the scap. So we've got another 4. Hold. 2, 3. Dropping down. We've got another 1, 2, 3, dropping down. Really hollow out through the chest. We've got, that's the last one. 1, 2, 3, and dropping down. Shake it out. So I was explaining while I was doing, but what I was really trying to explain is that I want you to keep pelvic stability. I don't want to see you trying to get higher or lower by using other areas of your body. You really want to keep quite strong and still and just allow those shoulder blades to move via that retract and protract. So that is beginner movement number 1. We're going to move on to the more intermediate level movement. It's the same exercise. We're just going to take a plank position so legs are dead straight. In your plank with me, I want you to gently tuck through the pelvis. And when I say tuck through the pelvis, I mean bringing your pubic bone forward so that you're closing the gap between your pubic bone and your sternum. Yeah, so we're engaging a little bit more through that center core like I explained in the Oreo. So tucking those feet under, feet zip nice and close or hip width apart. We're going to retract, protract. So we're going to squeeze shoulder blades together. We're going to press apart. We're going to squeeze shoulder blades together and press apart. Now, as you press apart, I want you to gently tuck through the pelvis a little bit more, zipping up through the belly and squeeze together. Press apart. Notice that I'm not dropping into any kind of extreme range of motion. I'm just gently moving to wherever my shoulder blades can allow. And press and squeeze. Press, 1 more, squeeze, and press. Cool. Shake it out. Done correctly, they're quite challenging. You should definitely feel all those muscles around the upper back, through your shoulders and through your core starting to work. Now, a more advanced version, we're going to add some shoulder rolls. So think of just in dance class, when you're doing your shoulder rolls, you're going to do that in the scap shrug movement. So we're going to once again push into the floor. We're going to take our legs back into a nice strong plank, remembering that tucked pelvis, that push protract. We're going to start to circle the shoulders up towards the ears. Now as we take them back down, we squeeze our shoulder blades in towards the spine to find our retracted position. Then we circle around, we find our protracted position. Cool, we're going to do 4 in each direction. Nice, then we're going to go the other way. This is a bit more challenging on your brain. Roll the shoulders back, squeeze together, press, squeeze together, press, squeeze together, press, squeeze together, and press. Cool. Shake that out. Okay guys, so you've learned 3 different variations of the scapular shrug. Now this exercise I still use in all of my training sessions with every one of my clients because getting that movement, that slide and glide of the scapula is so important. With the way that the world is today, where we're on our phones a lot, we're on our computers a lot, we're driving to work and we're doing lots of movements where we're collapsed in the upper body, the movement of the shoulder blades just doesn't happen how it's supposed to. And as dancers, we need to be able to extend and really use our entire body. And if that is restricted, it's going to be very hard to find a deep core connection when you're doing things like pirouettes or quick movement in a hip hop dance, for example. So guys, I'll get you to pause the video here. You're going to do 1 more set of 8 repetitions of any of those exercises. So if you're beginner, 8 of the bent knee. If you're more intermediate, in plank. And if you're more advanced, you're going to do another set of 4 one way and 4 the other way. and then come back and meet us for our second exercise. All right, so exercise number 2, we're going to be doing some hip lifts. They're very subtle in the movement, and I want to talk to you a little bit about why they're important. So what happens with a lot of dancers is we tend to create this lovely dancer pose position where we walk around like this with our tummy hanging out and our back arched. And that might be because when we're dancing, we're trying to make really lovely shapes and create beautiful silhouettes. But sometimes we forget that we need to actually create a little bit more length through the front and length through the back. What happens in this position is that you put lots of stress on the lower back and you actually shorten the hip flexors, yeah? And then you're walking around all day with a tight back, short hips, and overly stretched hamstrings, right? So for a lot of people that come and see me, they come in saying, oh, my hamstrings are really tight. I'm really, really stiff in my hamstrings. But actually what we need to work on is getting a bit more control over their core and their pelvic stability. So the position that the pelvis sits in all day, every day when they're walking around just doing their life. So this exercise is going to be really valuable to help you gain the strength, control, and understanding for that. And what it's going to do is take away the need for you to go and do your kicks down the room and block your position, and being able to really tuck under and create that real core control to then allow the legs to do the lifting. I hope that makes sense. Let's get into it. So what we're going to do to start is we're just going to practice pushing our arms up overhead and elevating our shoulders. So elevating, think of an elevator or a lift, you're going up, so your shoulders are lifting up. Now as you do this, I just pop side on, we're really going to try and gain that control through the diaphragm and the core. So we're not going to pop our arms up and arch our back like us dancers love to do. We're actually going to pin down through the core and lift up through the belly. And I always like to use the imagery of putting on some jeans that maybe are a little bit tighter, that zipped up feeling, okay? That closing of the ribs and pulling up through the belly. So in this position with the shoulders elevated is what we're going to do on our backs. So I'm going to use the couch, but feel free to use a wall or something that's very still. You're going to lay on your back. So we're going to push our arms into the wall or couch, and remembering to elevate those shoulders. And what we're going to do is we're going to try and make sure that this gap underneath our lower back, that lovely dancer back that we like to hold, is closed. You don't have to be 100% flat where you can't fit your fingers under. Actually, you want to just be able to fit your fingers underneath, but still feel that pressure, that internal core pressure through your back. So pressing arms elevate, knees into chest. We're going to try and keep our knees close to us and our feet close to us, meaning we're not going to be swinging our legs around. We're trying to articulate this movement through that position of the pelvis. Now, as we push, as we did in the scap shrugs, we're going to roll the hips off the floor. Keep the feet nice and close and lower down. We're going to do 8 of these. 2. Good work. And 3. So what you want to do is peel your bottom off the floor, lower back, and then float as high as you can without any movement of the legs. We're up to 5, I'm pretty sure. 3 more, guys. 3. And 2. And 1. Cool. So if you followed along, I just want to give you a few little tips that will really help you to fix this movement up and do it really well. What I don't want to see is the legs moving, as I mentioned. So what I genuinely see is people swinging to get their legs higher and higher. Yeah, and this plonk at the bottom. What I really want to see is a squeezing in of those feet. You can pop a pillow or something underneath your feet. Actually, I might do that. Something to pop underneath your feet. So I didn't say that you need that before, but I'm sure you can find something around your house. So you're going to shuffle away, arms are going to be elevated, shoulders are going to be elevated, hands connected. So I'll just demo a few. So I'm squeezing down on that pillow to roll my knees off. This can give you a little bit of proprioception or something to feel to remind you not to fling your legs around and lose the prop. So that was the beginner version. Let's move on to a more intermediate version. So arms are the exact same concept through your back. You're going to take your legs up. Now if you're someone who's quite tight through your hamstrings, feel free to just gently bend the knees. It's not about a hamstring stretch as much as it is about that articulation of the movement of the pelvis. So elevate the shoulders, legs are straight or gently bent. We're going to lift the feet up towards the roof. Now notice that I'm lifting up towards the roof compared to swinging in towards my face. So that's 2, we're going to go 6 more. Rolling up, really pushing energy into the wall. When you push that energy into the wall, you're creating a deep abdominal pressure which is going to help you do this movement. Beautiful. You know I've lost count. Let's go 3 more. Go 2 more. And 1 more. Cool. And the higher you can go without any swinging, the better. So if you feel like those exercises are getting a little bit easy for you and you're ready to progress, let's learn the more advanced version. So we're going to take our legs out into a straddle position. So legs nice and wide. Oops, I'll just move over. Legs nice and wide. You're actually going to bring your legs in close, so pulling your hips into more flexion, feet as close to the floor as possible. Squeezing tight through those legs, pushing into the wall or couch and rolling the hips up. And then slowly down. Noticing once again, there's no swing happening. We're really using that core. Good. 4. Good work. 5. And 6. Cool. 7. You're nearly there. And 8. Cool. Shake all that off and go for a little walk. When you're ready, pause the video, repeat one of those 3 exercises for another 8 reps, and then come back to me for your 3rd exercise. Okay, so now we're going to move into some fun stuff. We've done 2 foundation movements where we've worked on really articulating movement through that core, that Oreo center core. Now we're going to start doing some stability and working on upskilling your anti-rotation. So when we dance, there's a lot of movement going on. We need to, like I said earlier, be able to control and stop ourselves from whatever movement we're doing. And that means that there's an element of rotation and you need to be able to block it. So an exercise where we're on one less limb, like we've taken an arm away, or we've taken a leg away from the floor, or we're doing something that's moving, requires strong anti-rotation skill. So we're going to be working on that. We're going to pop into a plank again. So I've got 3 different options as with the other exercises. We're going to take a nice wide plank. So feet are going to be outside of hip width, and we're going to go into that push position, that protract position that you learned earlier, and you're going to tuck the pelvis under gently so that we're in a nice strong core position. If I came around and I pushed down on your bottom, I shouldn't be able to move your hips. You should be able to push against me as I push down. So from here, this is the position we always come back to. We're going to press up and back, and we're going to try and tap our opposite ankle and grab it. And we're going to elevate the shoulder like we just talked about. So not dumping down, but elevate, lift the shoulder. We're going to roll forward to touch. We're going to do 8 each arm. Roll forward to touch. Now notice that I am coming all the way down to my plank before lowering my hand. Nice big twist, tuck the pelvis under and then gently lower, which is different to this. Yeah, I think we're up to 2 each arm. We're going to continue. Squeeze through. Pressing up, elevate that shoulder, squeeze through. And what we're trying to do here is really avoid any twisting of the hips. We're trying to act as though both hands are always on the floor and we're very stable. You know, I've lost count. We've got to do 3 more each arm. Let's go. 3. 3. 2. Roll forward. And 2. Now as you come forward, you want to be really protracting, so pushing into that arm that is still on the floor, and that will stop your body from being twisted. Cool. Shake it off. That was option number 1, your beginner version. Now we're going to add an extra arm where we're adding a longer lever for that core control. So what I was saying during that movement is you want to stop your body from being very twisted. When you're on one arm, your body naturally wants to be in this position. But I want you to squeeze that opposite glute to the base arm so that you're nice and still and square to the floor, as if your arm was always there. Cool? That's what we want to work on when we come back through this position. All right, so as we did, we're going to go back one arm. One arm grabs the ankle. Now, as we come forward, I want you to start squeezing those glutes and taking your spare arm up and overhead. I don't want to see open hips. You need to squeeze the opposing glute and you need to work those shoulder blades back. Good. And then hand together. And then you press back. Then you come forward, arm nice and high, push the floor, squeeze the opposing glute. Well, squeeze both glutes really. And then again, 2, roll forward. 3, Oh, this is terrible counting, everybody. I think that was 2 each arm. Coming forward. Coming forward, squeeze the glutes, tuck the pelvis, arm nice and high, shoulders square to the floor. 4. 4. Here we go, 4 more each arm. Go a little quicker now, and I'll talk you through some more stuff after the fact. 3 more. Should definitely be starting to feel that core. 2 more each arm. One more. Cool. Shake that all up, and if you like, here is a more advanced version. All right, so we're going to add a little bit more rotation. So in those exercises, there's already an element of rotation when you take one arm away, which you noticed when I was saying your natural body wants to open up, but we need to work against that to rotate back to square. So now there is going to be an element of actual rotation. This is going to be really helpful in building the strength and awareness for things like pirouettes, chaînés, or anything where you've got to move quite quickly in rotation. So into your plank once again. Your feet are quite wide. You're going to take one arm up towards the roof, and you're going to thread the opposite leg through to in front of your hip. So as I turn over, the same leg as top arm is going to flatten into the floor, and the other leg is going to stretch out long. We're going to turn back and try to land the hand before the foot. All right, so here we go. We're going to take the opposite leg and hand off. We're going to shift and pivot onto the side foot, onto the top foot. We're going to stretch out that bottom leg. We're going to try and turn back on our toe, hand lands, then leg lands. Trying to control the lower. That's 2. We're going to do 8 in total. Twist. Thread through. Land the hand, land the leg. And again, twist. Thread through. Land the hand, land the leg. 4 more. Twist. Thread through. Land the hand, land the leg. Twist. Really trying to work against that rotation. 2 more. One more. Cool. Shake all that off. That takes some pretty extreme focus. Pause the video, run through 8 reps of one of those exercises. Now, if you're doing the more beginner or intermediate versions, it'll be 8 reps per arm. And if you're doing the more advanced version, try just 4 reps per side and then build up over time. And then come back to me for your 4th exercise. All right, guys, moving on to our 4th exercise for your core essentials for dancers. We are going to be working into our posterior chain, which is the back chain of the body. So like with any exercise though, we're going to be of course lifted through the core and the whole body is going to be involved. So in this exercise, we're going to be paying close attention to the contraction of the glutes, which is responsible for the extension of the hips. So as you remember, I talked about that arch back position, short hips, tight back. We want to take load out of the lower back and we want to extend the hip flexors by squeezing the glutes. And we're going to be working through all the muscles up either side of your spine. And again, those muscles that control the movement of the scapula. To move your arms overhead, you need to be able to really contract all these muscles through the upper back. So that's going to be happening too. So all you need for this one is a couch or something to hook your toes under. And if you don't have carpet, you'll need a mat like I have. So we're going to lay on down. Beginner version, we're just going to be lifting our upper body up. Hands are going to be facing the floor. And a cue I'm going to give you is roll your shoulders back in space and meet them in together at the spine. So squeeze the shoulder blades together, roll the shoulders back, yeah? You want to avoid having this rounded position because if you try and lift like this, you're going to be putting a lot of stress on the lower back. You're not going to be able to engage the glutes as much because the pelvis and the upper body like to mimic each other And you're not going to be using that upper body when we start to add the arms. So, hands into the floor, beginner version, 8 reps, pressing, squeezing the glutes, squeezing the legs, lifting up, walk the fingertips back. You're scooping up through the belly and lowering down. 2, lower, and 3, lower. Keeping nice and long through the neck, 4, lower, and 5. So it's dynamic in movement, but it's not just throwing and throwing the head out of control. And 6, and 7, keep rolling those shoulders back, and 8, hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly roll down and push back into a child's pose as I explain the next progression. So we're going to now add some movement of the arms while still keeping control through that whole posterior chain. The arms are going to take this track. So they're going to be back as you started. You lift up in that position, you're squeezing the elbows back together as if they're trying to touch right behind you with the shoulders rolled back. Then you're going to stretch them up overhead. Then you're going to pull them back to that position they were in, back to the first position, and then lower down in the body. So let's do this. I'm just going to count you through because there's a lot of movement added with counting. It's a bit too much for my brain. Then I'll talk to you about some techniques. So hands back. Shoulders rolling back as you lift up. Squeeze the glutes. Elbows in. Extend. Elbows in. Stretch. Lower. That's 1. 2. In. Extend. In. Stretch. Lower. And 3. In. Stretch up. Squeeze back. Stretch back. Lower. 4. Squeeze. 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 Make sure you're pulling the elbows in. 4 more. Here we go. Lifting up. Elbows stretch out. Elbows stretch out. Lower. 3 more. Here we go. And up. Squeeze in. Stretch up. Squeeze in. Lift higher. Lower. 2 more. Let's go. Lifting up. Elbows stretch. Elbows stretch. Lower. 1 more. Here we go. Lifting up. Squeeze. Stretch. Squeeze. Stretch. Lower. Definitely press back. Find a 4-point kneel, and you're going to take a few little cat-cows. So round the back, arch the back, and round the back, arch the back, and then sit your bottom down onto your feet, knees apart, long child's pose. If that wasn't challenging enough for you, you can move on to the more advanced version. We're going to take our arms through second to fifth, to second, to lower back down. That's the pathway of the arms, okay? So arms are out in front of us on the floor. We take our arms out, we lift them up overhead. When we take this fifth position, you want to think of being pulled up. You take your arms out again, you lift a little higher, and then you lay all the way down, completely relax, okay? We take a couple of seconds between each rep. Let's do it. This movement is a little more dynamic, but I need to see that control as you go from second to fifth to second to lower. Yeah, really pull up as you're coming down. Okay, let's go. Arms go out, up, out, lower, out, up, out, lower, out, up, out, lower. 4 more like that. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good work. Pressing back. Find a nice child's pose. This time sit one hip to one heel and then reach in opposition with your arms. And then swap sides. And hips over. And shake it out. Cool, so choose one of those 3 variations and do another set of 8 reps, and then meet me back for your 5th and final exercise for this tutorial. All right, our 5th and final exercise, we're gonna now be using all that core strength that we've built and doing a stability exercise where we're standing on one leg and moving. You're going to have to gain a lot of control through your instep. I'm sure you would have all heard your teachers talk about lifting your instep, and if you haven't, I'll just quickly tell you. So you want the ankle bone here right on the inside of your leg to be stacked right above the foot. You don't want it to be falling in. What you'll notice, if I drop my instep, get that arch underneath my foot, when I go to bend my knees point in. That's happened because when I drop my instep, that automatically pulls all these deep core muscles that run up through the legs tight. It pulls my pelvis into this arched position, then we get that lovely dancer back and all the other things that come with it. We need to gain control over the instep, really important. So what we're going to do first, I've got 2 pillows stacked up. These are optional. You don't have to use them, but having something to aim for is generally a little bit more fun and you can really feel that sense of achievement. So the beginner version, we're going to pick up one foot. We're going to start to stand on one leg. Now you're all dancers or you've danced to some capacity, so you know how to stand on one leg. You need to be lifted off this supporting hip. We're not sinking down, but lifting, yeah? Keeping that belly zipped up like those jeans that I was talking about earlier. The arm nice and long. From here, we're going to bend the supporting knee, making sure the instep's lifted, keeping that foot pulled in towards the tush, and then stand up. Cool? 2. And 3. Good. And 4. So we're doing 8 of these. And 5. Notice I'm lifted through the belly. My hips are still facing the floor. And notice that there's only one point of contact on the floor, which means we are working stability and a bit of anti-rotation too. Cool, shake it off. So that will have worked your glutes a lot, done well. Of course, if that was a little bit too easy, you can go down to 1 pillow. So set yourself up before moving. I notice this a lot actually, guys. I'll just touch on it. People try and get their leg up and start moving before they've actually set themselves grounded into the floor. So setting up, instep lifted, belly up, long through the back, and find a nice long arm to reach for the floor. You need to find peripheral vision where you're looking past that arm at one spot on the pillow or prop and then come up. So that's your options for the beginner version. Now we've got 2 legs, let's do the second leg. I'm going to do it on the lower pillow for this one and give you a closed view. So I'm using my peripheral vision, which I just mentioned. I'm looking past my middle finger at one spot on the floor and I am tipping forward and coming up. Now, while I'm looking at this one spot on the floor, I'm also very aware of the DVDs, the TV, the film crew, the window, and everything around me. But the way I find my balance is by staring and fixating on that one spot. Now, counting, doing all of that is obviously a challenge for me, but I think we're up to 5, and 6, and 7, and 8. Cool, shake that off. Super normal, guys, to feel really crampy through the foot, really tired through the side of the legs and through the hips and glutes. So if that's happening for you, it's a good thing. We're strengthening areas that may be a little bit weak. Moving on to the intermediate version. So now we're going to aim for the floor. We're going to try and touch the floor and we're going to add a little hip flexion. Okay, this is a little bit more advanced, but I know you're up for the challenge. So you're going to take one leg back, go back to your first leg. Same concept here, find your peripheral vision that I talked about, instep lifted, adductor switched on, belly, everything working as we've talked about. We're going to bend all the way down as far as we can, trying to touch the floor. We're going to stand back up, we're going to pull that back leg up in front of us. Arms can come forward or up above you. All right, take that leg back down, take your other arm out in front and aim for the floor. Now for the purposes of the length of filming in this video, I'm going to just demonstrate 4 reps, but I want you to do 8. One more. Down. And then coming up. Cool. And of course you'll go on to do 8 reps of that. Let's do the other side. I might flip this way for you. So, taking the leg back, belly up, nice and long through the quad. Notice that I'm hinging from the knee and the hips, yeah? I'm not trying to drop my knee down. I want to keep that leg nice and extended. So, starting up nice and tall, find your peripheral vision. Instep is up. Here we go. You may need to change your focus each time, but find somewhere to stare at and make sure it's not your reflection. Generally, if it's a moving spot, it's a little more challenging. Let's go for 2 more. Pulling up nice and tall. Shake it out. So you're going to go for 8. And if you want, you can do the advanced version. All right, moving on to the advanced version. We're gonna add some more hip extension and some extension through the chest. Now we're gonna be taking our legs up and behind us. We're gonna be stretching more through the front, and naturally our body's gonna want to rotate open, that rotation that I was talking about. But we're gonna try and fight the urge to rotate and stay stable on our one leg. Once again, I'm gonna demonstrate 4 rounds and you're gonna do 8. So, taking that first leg back, arm nice and long. Now what has to happen here is the hand is over the top of the back foot. So the fingers face down towards the shin and the toes are pointed in towards the wrist. Now from here I want to start to push this foot out towards my hand and create a beautiful circular shape. I can't reach there, but circular shape between my hand and my foot. I want to push nice and high till I'm in as much extension as possible. Then I'm going to try and bend that supporting knee. Cool. And then you're going to go into that lovely hip flexion. If you like, you can take a straight leg. Take the leg back down, push the foot into the hand, bend, 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 and then coming up. Feel free to take a straight leg or bent, whatever you feel. Arm goes down. Find your peripheral vision. You're doing a really great job. Coming up. And take a straight leg. I forgot about the straight leg. Last time. Keep pushing that foot and find your straight leg. Cool, you're gonna do 8 and then flip around for the other side. All right, taking that other foot back into your hand, finding your peripheral vision and locking your spare arm. Push that foot back, here we go. Cool. Keep pushing that foot into the hand. Nice long reach, pushing the foot, reaching the hand. And then pushing down into the base leg to straighten it out and extend the working leg. Here we go, 2 more. Nice long reach, create length and strength. Last one. Reach, 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 reach. And push the floor, find that peripheral vision and straighten out. You guys are gonna go for 8 and shake it off. Well done guys, so you've learned all of the exercises. Feel free, before I tell you a bit more information, to pause the video, run through another round of one of those exercises where you'll do 8 reps per leg and then meet me back for my little send-off. Well done guys, it's been such a fun time being able to teach you a little bit of what I know and some of the movements that I hope you find a little bit challenging. What I want to suggest for you to do is continue using this little video for the next 8 to 12 weeks. I've given you 3 variations of each movement and there's no limit to how much you can refine each movement. Once you've done the beginner movement for a couple of weeks and you can get up to say 12 reps for 2 sets, then you can move to the intermediate level and then advance yourself. So what I want to suggest is for the next 8 to 12 weeks, repeating this video twice a week where you'll do 2 sets of 8 to 12 repetitions per movement. And you'll notice that you're building a lot of strength along the way. So to leave you with a question, I wanted to ask you to let us know what exercise you found most challenging and share your experience in the comments below. So if you enjoyed some of the work that we did today, or if you enjoyed this style of learning, you can feel free to head over to flexersize.com.au, where we've got 5 online programs that are progressive programs and really focus on educating you around the movement of your body. So there's things like splits programs, middle splits, back bending, active flexibility, and even advancing to over splits, and with more exciting programs to come. And I wanted to offer all of you, the viewers, as a special thank you, a $25 off coupon for any of our programs. So when you get to the coupon section on our website, you can just enter the word manoeuvre, all in capitals, and you'll be able to get that discount. And you can also, if you'd like to know more about Flexersize, follow along on Instagram, where you can just look up Flexersize_, and we've got lots of exciting content and client and member results to have a look at there. As another little thank you, I wanted to give away 3 programs to 3 of our viewers. You can check out how to enter to win that on both the Flexersize and Grounded Instagram pages in the coming week. Once again, it's been so great working with you. I'm Eley May from Flexersize, and I hope to see you guys again soon. See you later.